Make it 2 straight for the Vancouver Canucks, who won't go quietly. They spread their scoring in a 5-2 win over the New York Islanders. Let's get into it. This is Rink Wide Vancouver. And we welcome you inside the Rink Wide Vancouver studios on a night that sees the Vancouver Canucks defeat the New York Islanders by a score of 5-2. They just won't go away. 10 games remaining in the Vancouver Canucks regular season. Maybe there'll be more hockey after that. Who knows? With more performances and more efforts like this one, they're going to keep their playoff hopes alive. 5-2 the final. It's Rink Wide Vancouver. It's a presentation of Bet365. And we are here to break it all down. Lots to talk about. Some of the lesser lights for the Vancouver Canucks stepping into the spotlight, a full team effort. And, of course, the guy at the back, the guy with all that equipment, he stepped up in a big way early on. Thatcher Demko back for, he's back-to-back now. 2 games back in the lineup and a couple of victories for the Vancouver Canucks. I'm Jeff. He is Irf.
Yep.
We want to hear from you, so hit us up in our YouTube live stream chat. And, of course, if you want your comments or questions to go to the top of the queue, bring it with a Super Chat, our Super Chat charity partner this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. And then there were 10, Irf. This was game number 72 for the Vancouver Canucks, their 34th victory of the season, 34-26-12 now, up to 80 points. They're back within 3 of the St. Louis Blues. Everybody in this race refusing to lose right now.
Yeah, an unsuspecting group of players for the Vancouver Canucks contributing. Sherwood, too, Bluger, Ratu, Derek Forbort coming in with a goal off the rush, but a regulation win. Yep. And I think that is very important when we look at the standings and the playoff picture as a whole, as we'll get into a little bit later. But nonetheless, a team that doesn't give up much, and really in the New York Islanders, obviously everyone knows about their power play and how it's absolute crap. But other than that, the Canucks, went to Long Island and they definitely took care of business.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's the first regulation road victory for the Vancouver Canucks since a win in Nashville in the final week of January. Now, if you give up points or a point like you did in Jersey the other night, that doesn't matter to the Vancouver Canucks. But in terms of trying to build something here for this final 10-game push, there's still 2 games to go on the road trip. You want to find guys that are rounding into form, getting their game in order. And, for the most part, it's Quinn Hughes. That's the blueprint. Man, there haven't been many nights where Quinn Hughes has been picked up by the rest of the team and had to be picked up by the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Usually the Canucks win because of Quinn Hughes. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say they won in spite of Quinn Hughes, but all the minutes that he's played, the workload, maybe it caught up to him. Not a banner night for the captain, but at the end of the night, other guys there to carry the slack and get the job done. And as you said, some surprising scoring heroes for the Vancouver Canucks. But, hey, they will take goals any way they can get them. They'll take wins any way they can get them. And so good on them. Down 2-1 midway through the second period. They score 4 unanswered goals, and they win it going away. 5-2 is the final. Back-to-back wins for the Canucks, as we mentioned. 3-1-1 in their last 5. And so you look back on that loss to the Rangers, and I know you got to turn the page, and Rick Tocchet's been consistent in that at this time of the year, can't do anything about past results, but man, what a missed opportunity there with the way that game unfolded. But they bounced back from the disappointment at Madison Square, beat Jersey in a shootout, and here end up running away and hiding from the New York Islanders. Let's start with Thatcher Demko, because this game could have got off the rails in the early going. First shot on goal that he faced is a grade A from, guess who, the former captain, Bo Horvat. Slipped in behind Marcus Pettersson and was able to take the centering feed, redirects it. Demko with a terrific stop there. A few minutes later, Horvat off the rush. And again, Demko moving from his left to his right. Comes up with a big save. Anthony Duclair parked in front of the net. Another clean look at net. And what I liked about the Duclair save, we can talk about the Horvat ones as well, but what I liked about the Duclair one, just so clean in the save, swallowing up the puck, no rebound, making it look easy. When Thatcher Demko is dialed, that's what he does as well as just about anybody in the game, and he makes the position. And we know it's not an easy position to play, but he makes it look pretty easy. He was on early, and hey, if the Isles, they're pushing for playoffs on the other side in the Eastern Conference, if they get the start that they're looking for, maybe this game's different, but Canucks, they won the goaltending battle tonight. Islanders had two goaltenders. So the Canucks won, but Thatcher Demko was terrific.
Yeah, stopped 26-28. And I think the biggest thing, Jeff, is I take it to even before the game. Like, we didn't really know who was going to make that start. Rick Tocchet did an interview with Murph and said that, he had to kind of talk to Thatcher and see how he felt after the game. And they didn't really know the situation with Kevin Lankinen, who didn't back up, by the way, was Artur Shilovs behind Thatcher Demko. We'll get into that later as well. But having your guy be ready, I think having your guy feel confident enough to go in there. And even Jeff, just looking at him, like, there wasn't really any timing issues. There wasn't any sort of hesitation on Demko's part. I thought that, the day after the game, he might feel something, and then another game, we'll see what happens. But I think it's huge for the Canucks if they can get Demko back to the top of his game and play like we all know that he can. But yeah, I mean, making those saves early against Bo Horvat, those two early, he had a couple other saves in the second period that were some pretty good scoring chances as well. And then, I think that if on a night where Quinn Hughes doesn't have a Quinn Hughes banner type of night, it's led by the secondary scoring that gets to goals, but they don't get that win without Thatcher Demko early in that first period.
All right, and I'm telling stories out of school here on you. Irf was screaming at the TV. He was getting greedy. He wanted Thatcher Demko with a 2-goal lead, and the goalie pulled with 4 minutes to go. He wanted to see a goalie goal.
Why not? Take a shot. I thought that one time when the puck rug around, they was going to have a shot at it, but why not? You're up 2, and also they're on the penalty kill as well.
No, he kind of fumbled the one dump in that, you're right. If it was going to happen, it was right there.
Shoot or shoot.
It hopped over his stick. Scoreless after 20 minutes, in large part because of Thatcher Demko. Canucks didn't really do much in that opening period. As we said, the shots were 10-5. And it looked like maybe the Canucks, with the guys that they're missing, you can understand, just trying to dumb it down a little bit, play that sort of safe road game. But they opened the scoring early in the second period. Ratu doesn't get an assist, but that goal doesn't happen without him getting on his horse, getting in on the forecheck, steals the puck back of the net, rings it around the boards, and Jake DeBrusk makes a nice play to tip it back to the point. The two defensemen, Hronek to Hughes, and Kiefer Sherwood going to the front of the net, finds a little bit of safe ice there. We're showing the replay on the live stream, and we've seen it all season, Irf. The hands are there. For Kiefer Sherwood, we know that the body's been there all season long, up over 400 hits now. But there have been moments throughout the season where you see the finesse, the touch, that this guy scored lots of goals at lower levels, but has never had the opportunity in the National Hockey League, and just a massive breakout season for him, his 16th of the season. And again, a night where the Canucks didn't start particularly well, so important to get that opening goal.
And Quinn Hughes is going to find you. Like, if you give Quinn Hughes that much space and you go to the soft areas, like you mentioned, stick on the ice, good things tend to happen. And every time we talk about Kiefer Sherwood now, it's either NHL record for hits in games, and it's also going to be career high in goals and in points for him as well.
Yeah, scored a big third period goal the other night in St. Louis when they were able to push that game to overtime, get a single point there. So his second goal of the road trip. Now, we talk about the importance of the opening goal. Ultimately, in this game, the Canucks gave it up and then gave up another one. So they were down halfway through the hockey game. And we should talk about the power play, because for all the good that the Canucks have done, and yes, I get that Elias Pettersson's not in this lineup, but there are still 4 regulars that have seen a lot of power play time. there's enough offensive talent in this Canuck lineup still to do more than they've done, not just tonight, but on this road trip. And we'll get to a stat that stands out a little differently, but this one could have as well. They're 0 for 7 on the power play on the road trip, and actually a net -1 because they gave up the shorthanded goal. But the crazy part there is they've scored a pair of 6-on-5 goals to force overtime. So they've scored with an extra attacker twice, but not power play goals. But with the conventional power play stunk in this hockey game. Let's be honest. Both sides.
Teams, yeah.
Canucks only had the one opportunity, and it was the Islanders that scored. Casey Cizikas. And when we talked about Quinn, that was maybe the first real indication of trouble in his night. Rick Tocchet talked about it after practice the other day, where at times Quinn Hughes just tried to do too much, and you can understand why. I mean, peeling players out of the lineup with injuries. If somebody's going to create, usually it is the captain, but moves that puck back to the point and then sort of slides it into the middle to nobody.
It is to nobody, but also, I mean, Jonathan Lekkerimäki is young. Maybe there's some miscommunication. Like, Elias Pettersson maybe goes and gets that puck, or whoever it is, and someone else, but nevertheless, you probably shouldn't be throwing a blind pass backwards off the wall.
No, and then Quinn talked about postgame the other night about his defensive performances 2-on-1. Didn't defend there particularly well. We saw the overtime winner in St. Louis that turned into a 2-on-1 as well, so Quinn's not wrong when he talks about if there's an area of his game, maybe he can brush up on defending the 2-on-1, but Casey Cizikas takes the pass from J.G. Pageau and makes no mistake, gets Thatcher Demko moving and is able to tuck it in. So at 5:33 of the second period, now it's a 1-1 tie. Again, Canucks are fine, out of the road, 1-1, no big deal. But then, matching minor penalties, 4-on-4 again, an area where you think Quinn Hughes is going to take over. The Islanders don't have a ton of offensive weapons. Bo Horvat leads their team with 49 points and didn't add to his total. So the leading scorer on the Isles, under 50 points at this stage of the season. And 4-on-4, Canucks got caught running around in their own end. It was Hughes, it was Hronek, it was Besser, it was Connor Garland. Hughes ends up moving out to the point. Besser lost his man, and there's Tony DeAngelo to swoop into the middle loose puck, and he snapped it past Thatcher Demko. And so while the Canucks hadn't done a lot to that point of the hockey game, to be down 2-1, you thought, no, every point, every goal matters here, vital games. Don't let this one get away after taking the lead out on the road. And to their credit, they didn't. And, we talked about Ratu getting in on the forecheck, playing his former team. I'm sure he was fired up to go against the team that traded him away, wanted to prove something, get his opportunity here in the National Hockey League again. And some terrific pressure by that line. Sherwood was in on the forecheck, battled, and the puck got through the first time, and they didn't score, but they stuck with it, worked it back to the point, and Marcus Pettersson with a shot, and there was Ratu right in the blue paint. Get the stick down, nifty little deflection past Elias Sorokin, and so the Canucks had done well at that point to tie it 2-2, and you thought, okay, if they get out of the second and a 2-2 tie, they've played all these tight games on this road trip and really all season. They should be pretty comfortable in tight hockey games. Better than getting out of the period 2-2. The scoring machine went to work in the final minute. Derek Forbort, you said off the rush.
Yep.
We noted a couple of weeks ago against Dallas that he broke a 2-year goal-scoring drought. So I don't think he wanted any part of going 2 years. I think it ended up being 10 games. Just his second of the season. But Derek Forbort takes a pass from DeBrusk and a quick shot from the left circle. Not a great goal on Elias Sorokin, and not a great goal in that moment for the New York Islanders to turn a 2-1 lead into a 3-2 deficit with 25 seconds to go in the period. So Canucks will take it. You're not going to get a lot of offense out of Derek Forbort. That's not what he's here for, but terrific pass the other night in Jersey to Jonathan Lekkerimäki, and here on the business end of his second goal of the season. And look at that. All of a sudden, the Canucks had a 3-2 lead going to the third period.
How many game-winning goals does Derek Forbort have on his career?
We can't give that out. That's a stat that stands out here. We've done some hockey math.
Yes, we did.
A little foreshadowing of where we're going there. But you don't expect it, but in this situation, you take it all day, every day, if you're the Vancouver Canucks.
Well, I think that was the turning point in the game, right? You get the goal late in the second period, and then right to start the third, you're able to get in on the action again. We've talked about this Vancouver Canucks team not being able to put the nail in the coffin, not being able to put teams away, and up 4-2 to start the game. This one was all but over for the New York Islanders, who don't score much anyways.
And then Teddy Bluger.
Yeah.
Teddy Bluger getting in on the action as well. 2-on-1, didn't execute it particularly well, but good work by Connor Garland on the sideboards. Adam Pellick picked his pocket there and is able to get the puck back to Bluger. And I don't know if he surprised Sorokin or if Sorokin had one foot on the bench already, knew that the hook was coming. It wasn't a banner night for Sorokin, who, it's funny, all these teams, and look, the Canucks are guilty of this too, to a degree, but the Islanders, Utah, these teams that are leaning on one goaltender and putting their playoff hopes on one guy, but it's too difficult to league now to not have a backup or a third stringer that you trust to play even a handful of games along the way. And so they have basically ridden Sorokin into the ground here, and he's bound to have an off night, kind of the way Kevin Lankinen did against the Rangers the other night. Whatever the case, Canucks benefit, and Sorokin wasn't good. He gave up 4 goals on just 19 shots, and out came the hook after the Bluger goal. So Sorokin played 41 minutes and 5 seconds and just, quite frankly, didn't stop enough pucks. And then Kiefer Sherwood into the empty net to seal this thing by a 5-2 final. So good on the Vancouver Canucks, as we said, back-to-back wins in Jersey and Long Island. Remember, last year they barnstormed through the New York metro area, went 3 for 3. They tacked on an overtime win in Pittsburgh for good measure. That was then, different team, different circumstances, but they go 2 for 3 in the New York area and certainly played well enough to get the win at Madison Square, but just didn't convert on the opportunities that they had. Let's get to the 3 stars in this hockey game. 3 stars here on Rink Wide, a presentation of Greta Bar YVR. And first, we'll tell you who the 3 stars in the building, selected by Islander Media. Kiefer Sherwood is star number 1. Casey Cizikas with a goal and an assist, so he was in on both of the Islanders' goals. And Thatcher Demko was star number 3. Clean sweep here. And it's a Canuck post-game pod. No doubt about Kiefer Sherwood, 2 goals and an assist, so in on 3 of the 5 goals. We've talked about Demko there. You see the save percentage on the night at .929. And don't look now, but Thatcher Demko has won his last 4 decisions. Now, it's separated 6 weeks of injury and the 4 nations, but remember the groove that he was in before he took himself out of that Toronto game. And I say the last 4 decisions because it's not his last 4 starts. He took himself out against the Leafs, got no decision in that game. But in the games that he has been able to finish, Thatcher Demko has won 4 in a row in 5 of his last 6. So maybe, just maybe, he has sort of picked up where he left off, even though he missed 6 weeks of game action. Thatcher Demko, star number 2. And there's Ratu with the goal. And it was a big goal to tie the game at 2. 3 shots on goal. Doesn't get an assist, but played a vital role in the opening goal of the hockey game. And, we're always going to chart Ratu in the faceoff circle. Not a huge night.
Nope.
But 50% against the best face-off team in the National Hockey League. The Islanders better than anybody else. And the Canucks held their own. Islanders won 55% of the draws, which is basically their season average. But they didn't bury the Canucks in the face-off circle. And a guy like Ratu able to hold his own, wins 5 and loses 5. So here on Rink Wide, a clean sweep for the Vancouver Canucks, the 3 stars. A presentation of Greta Bar, where we're going to be hosting another Canucks Army viewing party on April the 10th. And, hey, if they keep winning here, that game's going to have some meat on the bone. Vancouver at Colorado. Circle it on your calendar and make plans to join us so that you can experience all that Greta has to offer, all the big screens, the arcade games. You can order off that terrific new street food menu. They've got weekly drink specials as well. Greta Bar, the place to be, 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar, let the games begin.
No problem there. They're 3 stars.
Yep.
Ratu against his former team.
Yep.
But that bottom 6 forward group, right? They definitely came to play. Didn't see too much of the Lekkerimäki, Linus Karlsson line a little bit, but those guys, like that third line was dominant against the New York Islanders here tonight.
And a shout out here. I'm not sure this earned honorable mention status. I thought Drew O'Connor was terrific in the third period. I didn't notice him much the first couple of periods, but in the third period when the Canucks were up a goal and trying to preserve the lead, had a couple of shifts where skated the puck from his own end, used his speed through the neutral zone, got pucks in deep. Again, not sexy stuff necessarily, but the kinds of things that you have to do to help your hockey club preserve victories. then, as it turns out, he ends up getting 2 assists in the third period. They were both secondary assists, but finds his way onto the score sheet and pulling that rope in the right direction. So I just want to mention him as well. Mel says Dakota Joshua, very active and disruptive. Yeah, again, anybody that sort of lined up in a depth role for the Vancouver Canucks, I think pulled their weight. And particularly, as you said, not a lot of action for the 3 Swedes lower in the lineup, but those other guys that played, penalty killers in the third period. Canucks twice were shorthanded. Quinn Hughes took a penalty, and then Pius Suter late. Now, we mentioned the power play stunk both ways. The Islanders have the worst power play in the National Hockey League, and on their first opportunity, Irf, it looked every bit the part. It lived up or down to its reputation. It was a disaster.
Yeah, couldn't get into the zone. When they got into the zone, they couldn't negotiate a pass. They couldn't make a pass. They couldn't do anything. It's dead last in the NHL for a reason. It's not good. Not good on home ice or the road. What was it 2 for their last 25 power plays in their last 8 games, I think it was. And then coming into this hockey game.
So just to put that in sort of context here, I was doing a little bit of research this morning for my game day preview at Canucks Army. Yes, ranked 32nd in the league. So dead last, 12.1%. Terrible. But in raw goals scored with the man advantage, the Detroit Red Wings lead the National Hockey League with 59. So that might surprise some people. The Red Wings have scored one more than Winnipeg. But the Red Wings lead the National Hockey League with 59 power play goals. 70 games into the season, the Islanders have scored 21.
That's crazy.
Same league, basically the same strategy on the power play. All these teams have skilled guys. And there's a 40-goal discrepancy between first and last in the National Hockey League. So, it's amazing, really, when you think that the Islanders are still in a playoff chase. This is a tough one for them. They thought they had won the other night against Columbus. They end up losing that in a shootout, so they gave away a point to the team they're battling with, and then here get nothing against a Vancouver team that's missing a ton of top players. Kind of interesting week as well. Remember the Canucks did this in January where they watched the Leafs and Carolina play, and then the Canucks played Carolina, and then the Canucks played the Leafs. Mm-hmm. We're doing that again here because Columbus was at the Islanders on Monday. Canucks are at the Islanders tonight. Now the Canucks go to Columbus on Friday. So it's that sort of little 3-team round robin with 10 games to go in the regular season. It's wild too. And this is, again, we're worked to the stat that stands out. This isn't it. But when Teddy Luger scored 1 minute and 5 seconds into the third period, that's the first 2-goal lead that the Vancouver Canucks have had on this road trip. Just tells you how tight all of these games back and forth. There have been a ton of lead changes. There was a couple of lead changes in this one as well. But finally, it took them until the third period of the fourth game of the road trip to have even a little cushion, breathing room, if you will, to play with a 2-goal lead. And obviously they extended that with the empty netter and win it by a score of 5-2.
Well, even more, just piling on different types. This is the second time this season they've chased a goalie.
Yep, hasn't happened often. Cam Talbot left a game in Detroit. He was injured.
Yep.
And John Gibson got hurt here in Vancouver a couple of weeks ago. When they were playing the Ducks. But in terms of the other team getting the hook out, Jordan Binnington, and think of where the Blues and what's happened since then for Binnington, the Four Nations, and the way the Blues are going here. But the Canucks chased Jordan Binnington in a game in St. Louis back on the 27th of January. Book 'em, Dano. Jeff, how many wins to make the playoffs? What's the hockey math? Well, 10 wins would probably get them there.
Yep. Easily.
That would be running the table. That would get them to 100 points. They're still looking. I mean, they got 10 games to go now. They're probably still looking at 7 on the low end, 8.
Probably got to win 8 of 10.
If they win 8-2, they get to 96 points. The way that Minnesota is sort of stalling out here,
falling off of the face of the earth.
Minnie's going to be the team that they're ultimately chasing.
Yeah.
But Minnie's got a cushion on them right now, and St. Louis still has to bump Minnesota to take over wild card 1. I mean, to be safe, 8-2, is it doable? I mean, it doesn't mean you have. It's better than having to win all 8, right? Yep. And having zero margin for error. They've got very little room for error here, but I would say the way the Blues are playing right now, the fact that Calgary's not giving an inch, after all that, it might take into the mid-90s to make the playoffs, where we thought 91, 92, just based on the play of teams around the playoff bar. But it is funny what pressure does down the stretch, and all these teams realize, like, everybody else is winning. You just got to, head down and plow forward. And to the credit of the Blues and the Flames and even to the Vancouver Canucks here, they're finding ways to manufacture points. And so Canucks are still alive here with 10 games remaining. Let's get to the stat that stands out. Stat that stands out here on Rink Wide Vancouver, a presentation of Resurrection Spirits. And we talked about them. You sort of tipped your hand a little bit there.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. A little foreshadowing, a little
Yes.
teasing in this business, as we say. Derek Forbort has scored 19 career NHL goals. So this guy's been at it a while. He's a stay-at-home, shutdown D. His role is not to put pucks in the net. But when he does, surprisingly, 5 of them have been game winners. So more than a quarter of his goals have ended up being a game winner. And this one tonight is the winner. It made it 3-2 late in the second period. Now, game winners it's a nebulous stat, right? I mean, you can score a minute into the hockey game and win 1-0. That can be the game winner.
Yeah.
Or, you can score the 10th goal and check that. I mean, you can score the second goal of a game and end up winning 10-1, and
That's your
game
winner.
So, the more important stat to me is always like who scores. Like Brock Besser's done here recently. Like who's getting goals with 5 minutes to go in a tied game or that kind of thing. But no, this one goes into the books as a winner for Derek Forbort. So good on him. His first road goal of the season for the Vancouver Canucks. The other one came at home against the Dallas Stars. Stat that stands out, brought to you by Resurrection Spirits. We hear about the push to buy Canadian these days, and if you want to support a local company making a name in the spirit space, then check out Resurrection Spirits, an East Vancouver company crafting small batches of premium spirits using BC ingredients. Check out their website for a look at the full product line, gin, vodka, rye, and more. And who doesn't love a deal? Resurrection Spirits has partnered with our friends at Secaris and Price to create the S&P Gin. It's a limited run, so make sure you're using the code S&P, and you can get $5 off a full bottle. And we have a few here in studio. Check out resurrectionspirits.ca. You can find out about the S&P Gin. You can check out the entire product line there. Again, resurrectionspirits.ca. All right, so the Vancouver Canucks are 4 down and 2 to go here on this 6-game road trip. They'll be into Columbus on Friday night against the Blue Jackets, who they've been off since Monday, so they're going to be rested and ready to go. And then, of course, a quick turnaround into Winnipeg for a noon start Pacific time on Sunday. So trip wraps up with really 2 games in a day and a half. And, it's going to be a challenge for the Vancouver Canucks. But guys should be feeling pretty good about themselves coming off this one and picking up, moving on as they take on CBJ for the second time this season. It's interesting you mentioned the goaltending, the backup goaltending situation. We're led to believe that Kevin Lankinen skated this morning. The Canucks had a full team skate, but not a lot of eyes on it, so we don't know all that went down. But I just have to imagine the stakes are so high for the Vancouver Canucks right now, trying to push to the playoffs where every point matters, that if something happened to Thatcher Demko, and I think we're all aware of his injury history here, if something happened to Thatcher Demko, the Canucks dressing Artur Silovs as the backup, a guy that they won't start, have no confidence in, that has to tell you that Kevin Lankinen is more than just a little ill. As Rick Tocchet mentioned the illness after the game against the Rangers on Saturday, and that's the last we've seen of Kevin Lankinen, a suggestion that maybe there was a little bit of a knock in there somewhere. And I would think that the way they've handled him here for these last couple of games would lead you to believe that, if he could dress and be there as a backup in a time of need, he would be. So certainly a storyline to monitor here with just the 2 games remaining on this road trip.
I guess Rick Tocchet was asked about it post-game, what's the status of Kevin Lankinen, and he said that he is available now, just trying to give him some rest, and he is ready to go. So sounds like he'll play within one of the next 2 games. So resting, ready to go, available. You'll see him in one of the next 2. Whether that's going to be Friday I think you ride the hot hand. I think you go with Demko on Friday,
especially with the quick turnaround.
And then the noon start you give to Lankinen on the
that would be, and then it gives Lankinen a little bit more rest time.
Yep.
See if he can back up on Friday, and then and look, Lankinen was in net to beat the Jets couple weeks ago. So, see if you can channel the good vibes from that one and pull off the upset in Winnipeg at the end of this road trip. We shall see. We talked about how this was a night where sort of the lesser lights carried this hockey club. Credit where it's due, though, with about 7 minutes remaining in the third period. And at that point, the Canucks are up 4-2. So they've got a little bit of a cushion there. But I thought the best DeBrusk, Suter, Besser shift of the night by far controlled the play, had the Islanders running all around. And, that's what you're looking for. A goal would have been great in that moment, but you've got your top line, your skill guys out there reading and reacting off each other, getting the defensemen involved as well, and just killing valuable time off the clock. The Islanders couldn't touch the puck for the better part of a minute there. So, it wasn't a night where those guys figure in the scoring and were all over the score sheet. We've seen that earlier on the road trip, but still, little contributions, but fairly effective at a key moment in the hockey game.
Absolutely. And I think that as a total, when you look at it, like the depth guys were there when they needed to be. So much talk has been made about guys that they don't have. And we sit here and talk about no Elias Pettersson. We sit here and talk about no Nils Höglander, two guys that were playing well up until when they got hurt. And it's time to step up. And I think Rick Tocchet's talked about it. I think the team itself has talked about it. Quinn Hughes definitely stepped up the last couple of games, and now it's Demko's turn. And then in a game where, if your top two lines aren't going, you have the likes of a Kiefer Sherwood, who's been consistent all season long. But, we marveled at him having 11 hits or 10 hits a couple games ago. And there was nothing to show for it on the actual stat sheet. Here, it's a 3-point night. Like, you get these contributions from these guys. A guy like Ratu, right? Putting down, getting that work in Abbotsford, having a solid, season down on the farm, finally getting up here, scoring against his former team. Like, that's got to feel good for him, give him some confidence. Teddy Bluger doesn't score a lot of goals, but chased a goalie tonight. Again, that's got to feel good for him as well. So, Brock Besser obviously wasn't good tonight. He was -2 or -1, I think he was. Let me double check that. -1 for Brock Besser. He had 2 shots on net. Connor Garland had 3. He had an assist. But again, Connor Garland's going to do Connor Garland things, was buzzing around the net as usual. But those top end guys just didn't look as dangerous as the bottom of the lineup did.
No. And, you get away with it. As we said, they basically...
Tyler Myers was +4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
Again, he's had a nice season, all things considered, for the Vancouver Canucks, kind of goes about his business. But on a night when Quinn Hughes and Phil Aronik just didn't have it, to see other guys step in and step up and do their thing, good on them. Do you think it is as simple as just the workload cut up to Quinn, or was it just an off night? You look at the box score, and you can tell that this wasn't a Quinn Hughes night. They didn't lean on him at 24 minutes and 3 seconds, so that part's good, that he wasn't up around 30 like he's been too often here of late, but just 1 shot on goal, 3 attempts, and as we said, was fighting the puck, unusually so for the captain.
Yeah, and I think that because of what you said, fighting the puck unusually so, just leads me to believe it's an off night. Like, I really don't think that, he's feeling it or it's becoming too much or whatever. The weight of the world of an entire city and province is on his shoulders right now and has been for quite some time. So he's a guy that's handled it with obviously class, guy that's handled it with grace, and obviously lets his play do the talking. So, he's definitely allowed off nights. I guarantee you won't see a blind backhand pass like that. He's going to look over the film and probably have some choice words for himself to say about that. And, he is as hard on himself as anyone is in that locker room. So an off night for him, but luckily you got a guy behind you that can make saves in Thatcher Demko. You got guys like, Tyler Myers that are able to pick up the slack a little bit. And that's what they're going to need here. You mentioned the stakes right now are against him. Like, odds are against him to go run the table here and try and do something special. So they're going to need every bit of him, but he's allowed a night off. And thankfully, it was a night off and a win.
Yeah, and a night off when the goalie behind you was feeling it as well and bailed those guys out a couple of times. When we look under the hood here, the underlying numbers, Canucks outscored the Islanders 4-0 at 5-on-5. We talked about the Isles, a shorthanded goal and a 4-on-4 goal. So their only offense came in different game states, but 5-on-5. The Canucks didn't dominate in terms of possession, but they made the most of their opportunities and, again, took advantage of some crappy goaltending on the other side. No shame in any of that. When we look at individuals, Derek Forbort, big night for him. He's in a third-pairing role, but, individual Corsi is 67%, so shot attempts 14-7. for the Canucks. And I mean, again, we've talked about it, so maybe not a huge surprise, but by the numbers, it was a rough night. Filip Hronek, a 2-1 shot attempt edge for the Islanders when Hronek was out there, and the Canucks got outshot 11-6. Quinn Hughes, Canucks got outshot 10-9. I mean, it rarely happens the Canucks get outshot at all, but with Hughes on the ice is what I'm getting at. So that was a night that stood out for that reason. But again, the captain's going to bounce back, and he will be better on Friday. He's going to get up for it. Zach Werenski.
Buddy.
Well, yeah, former Michigan guys, but, both of them just having incredible seasons. Werenski, I think Makar's probably separated a little bit now to be the odds-on favorite to win the Norris. I don't think there's enough runway for Quinn to sort of make up the 14 games, but Werenski, second in scoring among NHL defensemen, 20 goals, and means a ton to that Columbus team. So only one puck on the ice. It'll be interesting to see who has it more on Friday night, because they both love it on their stick and both having incredible seasons for their respective teams.
I laughed when you mentioned Hronek because you almost felt bad for him on the one shift where his stick broke and you try to clear the puck and it turned into absolute chaos after.
Yeah, and then the Canucks went the other way, and Hughes was able to get the puck to Linus Karlsson off the rush. So you're right. It was 2-2 at that point. A goal there for the Islanders. Again, might have swung things in their favor. Didn't happen, and then Canucks went the other way. Were able to get the late goal and take that 3-2 lead to the locker room. Cliff Reynolds says maybe Forbort's going to chase Ovi for the most game-winning goals. LOL.
It's a big LOL.
Yeah, I think that's probably a stretch. Matt says if we get Demko fully back, that's an automatic top 5 goalie in the league. And when you combine him with Lankinen, that's just terrifying.
I 100% agree with that, and just have the forwards agree with that too, and everyone else, and be like, look at what we have back here. Like, nobody's going to score, so we need to score against other teams. Like, we need to go and provide the offense. 2-0, 3-0 games. Like, these guys aren't going to 3-0. Three goals can win you a game. The Canucks don't need to score 5-6 goals when your goaltenders are playing that good.
It is wild though that they get 5 tonight.
Yep.
Like, the struggle was real there for far too long with this team scratching and clawing to get 2 goals on a lot of nights. Then they come out on the road. You start to peel away players. Hedl doesn't go on the road trip. Pettersson and Höglander leave after the Rangers game. And, they got the buzzer beater in St. Louis to get to 3. Got something out of that game. Got the late one the other night. Got to 3. Got something out of that game. Get 5 in this hockey game. And that's why we say, if there was just a little bit more offense there on Saturday afternoon against the Rangers, we might be looking at the Vancouver Canucks having 7 of 8 points here so far on the road trip as it is. They're 2-1-1, so they've picked up points in 3 of the 4. They've got 5 of a possible 8 points. I thought at the outset of this trip, I said they had to win 3. They had to go 3-3. That 3-3 wasn't going to keep them above the playoff bar, but it would keep them in the playoff chase. Well, they've got 5 points so far, so they got 2 games to go. If they can get something out of either one of these games, then I think, in my mind, that the road trip will have been successful, and again, they will have maintained their position. Do they have work to do? Yeah. Are the Blues ever going to stop? I doubt it. They play Nashville again. Like, every time you look up, the Blues are playing the Nashville Predators and beating up on them. So that's probably going to happen again tomorrow. Calgary's in a stretch right now. They played and pulled out a win last night against Seattle in overtime, but they're in a run of 5 games in 8 nights.
Yeah.
And that is tough for any team. And you just wonder... So they beat Seattle. They get Dallas at home tomorrow. Now, Dallas is in Edmonton, so it'll be back-to-back for the Stars. Battle of Alberta on the weekend. No McDavid, maybe a Draisaitl. There was some talk that Leon could return on the weekend. Then Calgary has to go out on the road at Colorado, and then back-to-back they go into Utah. So, they're seeing Dallas, they're seeing Edmonton, they're seeing Colorado here. They got Vegas coming up. They got a tough schedule.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I mean, we all keep waiting for the bottom to fall out, and the Calgary Flames, and full credit to them for continuing to scratch and claw and getting it done here. But you just wonder at some point if they are going to run into some sort of wall. But, when they've hit other walls, they've found ways to get over them or around them, whatever. For the Canucks, I mean, you got to be mindful of the out-of-town scoreboard, but right now the focus for, and it really is just one at a time. Like, there's 10 to go, but they can't worry about anything after Columbus. Like, it has to, all the energy, all their might, everything has to be focused on trying to find a way to beat CBJ on Friday at Nationwide Arena.
Absolutely. And just looking at the St. Louis Blues schedule, the Canucks are going to be big Colorado Avalanche fans coming up, right? And they play the Jets as well and the Oilers. So the Blues, I think, have the easiest strength of schedule left, but the hard teams that they play are very good teams. And we talked about it. The Blues are rolling right now, but like you said, for the Vancouver Canucks, it's get on the plane, go to Columbus, and take care of business. Like, as much as you can't take your eyes off it, and it's going to be everywhere, and now people are going to start to ask you in this playoff race. The coaches are going to, you're going to get asked, and especially when you come home here, all the media and attention is going to be like, are you scoreboard watching? You find yourself looking at it. You have to look at it. You have to know where you are in certain games. In intermissions and earlier starts, right? Like, these guys know what's going on and what's at stake. So one game at a time. It's going to sound cliche, and you're going to hear it a lot down the stretch. But that's exactly what the Canucks have to do here.
This portion of Rink Wide brought to you by the Pacific Toyota dealers who want to tell you about the Toyota BZ4X. It's 100% electric, and it's backed by the peace of mind of knowing that it is a Toyota. The spark of joy you get when you pass a gas station, knowing that you don't have to stop, and the added perk of being able to access HOV lanes when you're driving an EV, even when you're alone in the vehicle. Yeah, it's not cheating that way. It's packed with things that you want in an SUV, like cargo capacity, fits all the sports gear, all the ski gear, whatever the case, kids and the dog. It can handle it all, and it can handle any terrain, so it can take you from the city to the slopes or wherever your life takes you. And when you choose the BZ4X, you can get up to $6,500 in rebates and incentives, and right now you can finance a 2025 BZ4X from 3.29% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. The other night, this market was fired up about Jonathan Lekkerimäki. I guess this will come with the territory of any young player still finding his way in the National Hockey League. His 20th NHL game. Scored his first NHL goal against the Islanders back in November, but really wasn't dangerous in this hockey game. We talked about the fact that it didn't play a lot, 11 minutes and 45 seconds. They only had the one power play. But really the only thing that I remember, he had the first period along the right wing wall, kind of won a battle and cut to the net, but wasn't able to get a shot away. That's what I'm looking for when I look at the box score, how much ice time, and then how many shots or shot attempts. And the answer was just one shot attempt and none on goal. So
I thought we'd see him a little bit more later in the game because the score was what it was, but maybe Rick Tocchet was like, nope, we got to see this one out. But then Rick also said that he wanted to get him more minutes with better players. And you play on that all-Swedish line. That's your fourth line, de facto the line that's not going to play much if things are going, the way they were in this game, if it was a tight checking hockey game. So, and the Canucks power play was bad. It didn't do anything. And that's where Lekkerimäki, can obviously provide some help and a little bit of a spark. So I wonder when the trust is going to be there, how much is he going to get to be able to move up the lineup? Is it a point? I know Jake DeBrusk, was on the score sheet here, but I talked to you. I said, maybe is it time that there's a little switch there where maybe Jake gets kind of off the top line and you give Lekkerimäki a chance with, guys up the lineup.
Yeah, DeBrusk with a nice little feed to the inside on the Forbort goal, but it's 7 without a goal right now for Jake DeBrusk. Like, it's go time. Their season is hanging in the balance. This is the wrong time for Jake to be backsliding into one of those slumps that we have seen a couple of times throughout the season. Obviously went the first 9 games of the year without scoring. So every game is a new opportunity, but it's hard to imagine that the Vancouver Canucks can stay in this race and ultimately achieve what they're trying to achieve if one of their leading goal scorers goes a whole lot longer than the 7 games that he's at right now without putting a puck in the net.
No, absolutely. And I think that giving a guy an opportunity, maybe giving him some confidence to move up in the lineup and being able to show off his offensive flair would do wonders for him. And if he makes a mistake, and mistakes will happen, they often do in the National Hockey League. I mean, look at Quinn Hughes. He's one of the best defensemen in the NHL, and he obviously makes some mistakes, and, the team has to go back and pick him up. But I think that Lekkerimäki, the upside is very much so there. There's a spot that's a little more than pencil, I think, for him next season. So we just kind of have to see what happens. I ask the chat, I ask everybody every time, what'd you like, what'd you hate from this one? So we'll go with you, Jeff. What'd you really like out of this Canucks performance?
Well, the end result, obviously, that's what matters the most. But the way it was accomplished with some of the lesser lights picking up the offense and picking up Quinn Hughes, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's allowed to have an off night. It feels like he's superhuman, and he's had to be superhuman. Again, if it was because of the workload, whatever the case, he was fighting it tonight, but other guys stepped up, and so I really like that. Kiefer Sherwood's had a bunch of nights this year. I mean, he had the hat trick against Colorado. He's been so consistent in finishing checks, and we know that leads the lead. Hits king, but there have been a lot of examples of soft hands there. That 16 goals, like, it's not a shock. Like, there's no reason that he couldn't sort of repeat that type of number again next season. He's under contract next season. He's been a terrific value for the Vancouver Canucks and should be able to provide that for a second season next year. So he's been fun to watch all season long, and nice to see him rewarded offensively. And then, like you said, you got to feel good for Ratu.
Yeah.
Any goal's a good goal for him. He's trying to prove himself. This is a great opportunity. But there's talk to these guys, and you've talked to enough players. I have as well. There's always that sort of going back against your first team, the team that traded you away, that whether the Islanders wanted to trade him, whether the Canucks insisted that he was part of the package, you always feel like a team has given up on you. And so that had to feel sort of extra special. And I liked the way it was scored in the blue paint, standing his ground in front of the net. That's where you got to be to score goals. So, again, lots to like from the Vancouver Canucks, and we'll see if they can pick up and take this with them to Columbus for Friday night.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positives definitely to take from this game. And, it starts with Thatcher Demko, right? If you know and you're consistent enough and before the game, Thatcher Demko's going in and he's been feeling it the last two games, that has to give everyone else a boost to know that, especially with what he has gone through this season, to be able to fight through the injury and make a comeback, then be able to fight through an injury again and make a comeback, and then play the way that he's played these last two games to even give his team a chance to be in it. That has to give you an extra motivated boost to go out and have a good outing in Columbus.
He's 4-0 lifetime against the New York Islanders. Problem there is that they're done with the Isles for this season. They split the season series. Remember the home loss to the Isles back in November? It was Dakota Joshua's first game after recovering from testicular cancer surgery. It was the night that Rick Tocchet apologized to the fans. It was one of the low points, certainly for the home schedule for the Vancouver Canucks, but they get it right and did last year as well, as we said. Had terrific success in the New York area a season ago. Not quite at the same level, but go 2 for 3 against the Devils, the Islanders, and the New York Rangers. All right, fairly late night around the National Hockey League. Canucks, they beat the Islanders. New Jersey bounces back from the loss to the Canucks the other night with a win in Chicago, 5-3. The Devils over the Blackhawks, and then 2 games going on as we do our post-game live stream here. The Oilers and the Dallas Stars. Dallas up 1-0, and Anaheim with a 1-0 lead on the Boston Bruins. I know you've got your eye on tomorrow and beyond as we turn our attention to our Bet365 line of the night. Where are you going?
Well, I like chaos. And the chaos is the standings in the Western Conference for the wild card spot. And I like matchups, and I also like the way that things have been looking for certain teams. So take the Blues over the Nashville Predators. I like the Flames. Dallas is in Edmonton now.
Right.
So I like the Flames, at home against the Dallas Stars. And the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think that they're going to go take care of business in San Jose, as they should. They've been feeling themselves as well. The Toronto Maple Leafs have been playing some pretty good hockey of late, and that's going to give you some pretty good odds there, plus 434.
What are the Leafs doing out west this late in the season?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. It's
like they were just in
mind you, the Canucks are in New York.
Fair enough, I guess. Yeah, maybe it's just one of those years where teams are doing that. But Toronto was in Nashville. Like, they're playing all these Western teams. They were in Nashville on Saturday. It's rescheduled. But you're right. I don't know if for whatever reason late in the season, teams doing the crossover and playing out of conference games. But, yes, the Leafs working their way through California, starting in San Jose on Thursday. Also on Thursday, we should mention that Tom Willander and his Boston University team starting the NCAA road to the Final Four. This is the round of 16. BU's playing Ohio State on Thursday. I think it's 11 o'clock Pacific time. and it's all single elimination now. So Oulander's college career could come to an end as early as Thursday afternoon. And, at that point, I guess he'll be on the clock, and we'll see what happens here. And there's a lot of questions about what will happen here because there's 10 games to go for the Vancouver Canucks. A lot of times we'll see guys leave college, sign with their team, and get plugged right in. I have a tough time believing that the Vancouver Canucks right now could find room for Tom Oullander in their lineup. That, Victor Mancini, a right shot guy, he came out to make room for D. Petey, who had sat the last couple. I don't mind the way that they're handling these two young defensemen, but sight unseen, like how many times do we hear Rick talk about trust, right? Like that's one of those things. And they're aware of the pedigree and a first-round pick and all that kind of stuff and the future for Tom Oullander. But as long as the Canucks are alive in a playoff push, I think it would be difficult to get him and promise him games. But maybe he comes in, he practices, he's around the team, and if they get eliminated, maybe that's the door that opens for Tom Oullander if they're looking to burn off the first year of his ELC.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's going to be able to get him in the door, get him working with, the NHL staff or even the minor league staff in Abbotsford, get him around professionals and all of that. It's going to be a great experience for him. But until they're mathematically eliminated, then I don't think that there's a chance that he ends up playing. But
the other option, though, is that he could push the contract and sign with Abbotsford as an ATO or whatever for the rest of this season, which I think would be the preferred route.
But then he wouldn't be able to play the playoffs. I think
you're right.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to play in the playoffs.
But as a first round guy with some leverage, and we see this, he can sort of force the issue because if he wants to play the card, he could tell the Canucks he's going back to school for another year. I think he wants to turn pro here, but that's where the prospect and his camp have sort of the leverage that usually getting a player to sign comes with the assurance that they're going to see some NHL games here late in the season. So.
Yeah, look, when Brock did it, they weren't around in the playoff. When Quinn did it, they weren't really good.
They welcomed those guys at that point.
Exactly. They're like, we need you.
Yes.
Right? And right now, they're going to need Tom Oullander. They maybe not read him right now, and it's going to be exciting. I know the fan base, I know people in our chat all the time are going nuts about it, but it's not breaking news that they're going to sign and he's going to play, but it's breaking news coming in from Bet365, Jeff, this segment of the show, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner, face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, every suspenseful minute in between. It's amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Official partner of the NHL. Download Bet365 and use the code NATION to get in on the game. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly.
We always tell you here, if you don't already, make sure you're following us on our social channels and make sure you subscribe to Rink Wide YouTube as well. All right, we've got Ratu. Let's hear from him.
Oh, yeah.
Ratu. We always like to squeeze in a little post-game. I see that the coach has been posted as well. We might be able to get a few comments from Rick Tocchet, too. But let's start with Ratu. Gets his third of the season. Tied the game 2-2 with 6 minutes to go in the second period and set the stage for the Canucks to score 3 more beyond that one. Win it by a score of 5-2. Here's Ratu after the Canucks win on the Isle.
Tonight, talk about how important this one was.
Yeah, huge. Obviously, look at the standings. Need every 2-point win we can get on any point, and obviously, huge one. They were up 2-1, and we were able to come back from behind, so that's always good for the morale.
What did it mean just for you to score in your return here, first game back?
Yeah, obviously wins huge, but haven't scored that many in this league. I was thinking about before the game if it's fine if I celebrate, but that moment just did what it felt right, and I obviously loved playing for the Islanders, but. Nice to play against them.
What can you just say about the way Thatcher Demko played early in this game for you guys?
So good. I felt like all the game at the end there too, and it's 4-2. Made a couple of huge saves to keep it that way. It's always big to have that 2-goal advantage, and just makes saves that you think are for sure goals, and kept us in the game. So huge for us.
Not just that. You have a goaltending trio right now that you can have a lot of confidence in. What's that like?
Yeah, it's huge. Obviously, it's always nice to be playing when you can maybe take a little risk and kind of know that every game the opponent's going to get chances. You kind of it's a great feeling when you know your goalie can make those saves that might be a goal sometimes. And having that many goalies, it's the same with the players, like that next man up mentality. Anything can happen. So it's great to have that much talent.
2 more games to go on this road trip. How do you keep the consistency?
Yeah, just keep doing what we're doing. I think obviously only been here for the last 2 games, but I think we played well, and I heard the Ranger game was good too. So kind of look at the things we can do better, but also keep going. I think we're building some momentum here.
Can you describe the emotional element of Forbort's goal at the end of the second period, but then to complement that, Teddy's goal early in the third period to make it, I think it was 4-2 at the time?
Yeah, it's huge. Obviously, it's it's so much easier to play with the lead and than be behind, and especially getting one right before the period, kind of going into that third 3-2 up, and then it's Teddy's goal gave us some breathing room as well, right in the start of the third. So both huge goals, and pretty nice ones, I think.
And then lastly, were you or anyone surprised when Sorokin got pulled after Teddy's goal, and did that send any message to your team in this?
I mean, we just think about the next shift and what we do. But just saw that they switched goals. I don't know what happened there, but just kind of staying focused.
I know what happened.
So do I.
I know what happened. He couldn't make a save.
Yeah.
You got beaten by Derek Forbort and Teddy Bluger. That's it. Your night is over.
And Ratu, yeah.
That's a tough question to put to Ratu, though. Good answer. Like, you can't worry about the other team and politics there. Coach makes a decision. You just head down and keep trying to do your thing. We're going to hear from Rick Tocchet here coming up momentarily, but you can tell a few of the answers there as we talked about. It means a fair bit to Aatu Ratu, and the fact that we know now that Elias Pettersson and Nils Höglander have been sent home, they have no extra healthy forwards on this trip, and I think that probably helps some of these young guys knowing that they're going to play the next game.
Yep.
Right? They don't go to the rink wondering. They know right now that this is their time, that there's a spot in the lineup for them, and Ratu stepped up tonight. Nils Åman's had a couple of points along the way. Carlson's had his moments, but maybe he's the next guy in the next game that recognizes the opportunity here and makes the most of it. So, when they shut it down at night, they know that they're in the National Hockey League and not just as an extra body. It's go time for all of these guys, and that probably helps their preparation. Yeah,
and I think for all of those AHL guys, I think Ratu right now probably has the most to gain because of the guy that's the center depth. Right? Yep. The amount of faceoffs that he can take. And if he can eat in the faceoff circle and be able to be a guy that Rick Tocchet depends on and is winning draws and can put in situations just to go out and win a draw, I think that can keep you in the lineup for a little bit longer than maybe some of the other guys would.
All right, we've got the coach. So you heard from Aatu Ratu. Let's hear from Rick Tocchet and his thoughts on the 5-2 win over the Islanders.
You talked a lot about consistency, so what does it mean to have these 2 wins back-to-back?
Yeah, it's a big win for us. Obviously, Denver was really good for us, especially the first half of the game. And we talked about, I don't think we were in love with our first 2 periods, but I thought that this third we played our best period. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Even if you feel like you're not playing your best game as a team or individual, you gotta find a period. And I thought the third period we were better, obviously.
There's been a lot of talk about Derek Forbort, especially that time when Quinn Hughes was out and a goal for himself tonight. What have you seen from him defensively over the last maybe couple weeks?
Yeah, he's a common influence out there. You're asking him to play with some young guys, and he's a leader. He's really good in the PK, and obviously he's supplied some offense. He had a great assist in Jersey, so what he said, he's a sneaky offensive player. So good for him. Yeah, he's been great for us.
You said pregame you didn't need everyone, and then you get some goals from unlikely sources with Forbort and Ratu. In a game like this, so just everybody stepping up at the right time.
Yeah, a couple of nice shot pass goals, which is nice to see. A different way of scoring. Depth scoring helps, right? Schurzy getting a couple. Like I said, Forsey. So at this time of the year, especially with our team right now, we need depth scoring. So we need everybody to contribute.
Ratu's return to the Islanders as well as first game back playing against them, and he grabs a goal he was just talking about a little bit. Does that add a little bit of sugar on top when you get a goal against your old team?
Oh yeah, it always is. But I think for him, it's just confidence. Maybe that loosens him up a bit. But that's it's a nice goal for him to get, and it's always nice a young guy to get something like a goal or assist, and it really helps you, unlocks you for the next game. So hopefully he'll get confidence from that.
How is Lankinen doing?
He's good. He had a good practice, so he's available. we just wanted to get him some rest. He could have, backed up tonight. So, but I just wanted to get him some rest tonight and get him ready for if it's the next game or the next game after that. We're not quite sure, but he's ready to go.
How important was Demko? You mentioned first half, but I think he gave up 5 2-on-1s in the first 2 periods, and they only got 1 goal out of it. How important was he in that?
Yeah, we don't like the 2-on-1s, I'll tell you that. But the way Demmer is, he made a hell of a save on the one post to post. You know what? It could be a different game if they score, right? And but like Demmer says, he says that's my job to stop those, which is true. But we got to limit those chances, especially early in the game.
All right, there you go. Rick Tocchet, and I liked his first answer, just sort of his general overview. I agree with him. The third period was easily their best, and the fact that they win it going away, but they didn't sit back, and we've seen them do that too often. It's blown up in their face. Leads that have gotten away. It looked like maybe they've learned and applied some of that stuff tonight here against the New York Islanders. 5-2 the final. Talked about Demko. You heard him in his own words there explaining about Lankinen, so I would expect that we will see Kevin Lankinen in one of the final 2 games of the road trip, whether it's Columbus Friday or Winnipeg on Sunday. And Irf, we've come this far, an hour into this game. No, I mean, how can you not? Bo Horvat.
He plays for the Islanders.
He does.
He used to play here.
Got a big, long contract to play for the Islanders. 21 minutes and 13 seconds of ice time, 2 shots on goal, 9-9 in the face-off circle, and was on the ice for a couple of the Canuck goals. It wasn't a great night. He's part of that power play that we said absolutely stinks. That has to keep him awake at night when you think of how good he was on the power play here in the bumper. But what did you make? I mean, he had those 2 first-period chances that we documented. I'm sure he's sort of regretting the lack of finish there. But credit to Thatcher Demko for the saves that he made. What did you make of Bo's night?
I mean, so leading scorer. He's a leader on that team. With Barzal out, obviously long term. He's a guy that they look to for leadership and to try to get this team and will this team into the playoffs. It's him. It's the goalie who started 17 of the last 19 games. But yeah, I thought Bo was okay. But he scores one of those 2, and it's a whole different game. So Bo's going to be Bo. I think we know, everyone that watches knows what you're going to get out of Bo Horvat. Making those passes and then darts to the middle of the ice. That's what Bo's kind of known for. But you're right, on the power play, he's not really in that bumper position. No. He's kind of just more so gets the guy with the puck all the time. It's probably not the best place for Bo Horvat. But yeah, I mean, if this team is going to get to the playoffs, it's going to be, on the back of Bo Horvat.
Yeah, I thought a pretty quiet night for Anders Lee, who leads them in goals. He had the one chance in the third period at 4-2, and Demko was able to get a left pad out there. Made a nice stop. Noah Dobson, who plays a lot and has had big offensive seasons, didn't notice him much in this hockey game either. So Canucks did a nice job. It wasn't a night for the stars, but the secondary guys on the Canucks were better, obviously, than the support players for the New York Islanders. 5-2, Canucks over the Isles. Put a bow on their time in the New York area. No pun intended with bow, but now on to Columbus for a game on Friday. I don't know if they're planning to practice or if they'll take the day off Friday and get ready, or take the day off on Thursday and get ready to go on Friday. We'll see about that, but whatever the case, at 4 down and 2 to go here on this road trip. All right, Kiefer Sherwood with a pair. He had a 3-point night. He was the first star here on Rink Wide. Ratu, Derek Forbort, and Teddy Bluger, the other goal scorers for the Vancouver Canucks. Ratu is the man behind, or Ratu was the guy scoring goals for the Canucks. Ratu is our man behind the scenes here, producing Rink Wide tonight. We appreciate his help. Irf, you're back with me on Friday.
Yes, sir.
So we'll see what Friday brings on this hunt now into the final 10 for the Vancouver Canucks. Truly, I mean, they've been in the stretch for a while here, but like around in the clubhouse turn and heading for home. 10 games remaining for the Vancouver Canucks to do a little scoreboard watching on Thursday and then get back at it against the Blue Jackets on Friday. And that's not going to be easy. This is a Columbus team that can score a bunch. We talked about Zach Werenski earlier, but you look at some of their young talent. Kirill Marchenko leads the team. He's got 26 goals. Kent Johnson is a 22-year-old, 46 points in 56 games, so he's getting it done. Adam Fantilli, a 20-year-old, has 43 points. Yeah. The future is bright, and, of course, all of this against the backdrop of the Johnny Hockey tragedy and having to play without one of the guys that was going to be their offensive leader, and they're trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. So another desperate team coming up for the Vancouver Canucks, and they've been good at home. That's the other thing. CBJ is 29-5, so 20 wins, 9 losses, and 5 in that OTL column. So they've done a fair bit of winning on home ice. Canucks did beat the Jackets 5-2 in Vancouver in December. Remember the first period that night? Columbus outshot the Canucks 17-2, and then
you remember that?
Canucks were able to turn it around. So they don't want to fall behind and get outshot like that on Friday. See if they can have a better start then. That's when we're going to do our next episode of Rink Wide. So looking forward to that already. Hopefully you'll join us for it. Again, the final score here, Vancouver 5, the New York Islanders 2. For Earth, I'm Jeff. Thanks so much for checking out this edition of Rink Wide Vancouver.